We are up and running, nice and live. Excellent. All right. So first and foremost, if you are watching me here on Facebook, I am using a new streaming software that I tried to use last week as well. And it looks like it's been working okay. But you'll notice in the description of this video, there is like a little link for you to click. You'll get your best commenting experience by setting the permissions on your commenting. I don't really know how it works. It's some sort of Facebook thing. Anyways, welcome back to another episode of Live at Lunch with Jen J, Advanced Holistic Nutritionist. That's me, and women's hormone health coach. Today, and actually this entire week, we're going to be talking about protein in our smoothies. And I thought that today we would kick it off with 3 reasons why you should be adding protein to your smoothies. So let me know in the comments here if you usually add protein of some kind to your smoothies. Later on this week, I am going to be sharing different protein sources you can be adding to your smoothies, and some of my more favorite ones, the ones that I really enjoy adding, the ones that I typically add in probably almost every one of my smoothies, or at least every few of them. We'll be going on to a little bit more about how to choose a protein powder, what to look for in your protein powders, all of that sort of thing. So there's going to be lots that we're covering this week. If you're new to my channel here, welcome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. You can hit the little notification bell, like somewhere, whatever channel you are watching me on, there's usually a little bell that you can press and you'll be notified when I come live. I do these Live at Lunch episodes every day from Monday to Friday, sometime between 12 and 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So that's Toronto time here in Canada. And today just so happens I'm coming here at 1 o'clock. So I see that our chat is working. Awesome. You guys are awesome. Cool. Okay. Thank you. Or at least in Facebook, I see it working here. Okay. So let's get into this. All right. So let me know in the comments if you're currently adding protein to your smoothies. And I will tell you that, and I shared a little bit of this story I think about 2 weeks ago. But, when I started eating smoothies, I was, I think, about 24. And I had never before really done smoothies. That wasn't a thing for me. And so really for me, what my smoothies looked like was just a bunch of frozen fruit and 2% milk. And of course, the 2% milk does have quite a bit of protein in there. But I knew nothing about making a smoothie. And so that's where I've come from over the last 2 weeks and what I've been sharing. And protein has been a really big learning journey for me in adding to my smoothies, because I really did just think that, a smoothie was just fruit and milk. And I think, when we go out and about, and if we're in, maybe our Canadian favorite coffee drive-through, the traditional smoothie might just contain yogurt and frozen fruit, right? So that was kind of just the only thing that I really knew about smoothies. And what I found was that smoothies left me so hungry. I was hungry all the time and I never felt full. And I found that I would drink my smoothie and then within an hour, I would actually go and eat almost a full meal. And just because I was so hungry. And so what I really found was that they weren't sustaining me. They weren't making me feel full, and then they weren't sustaining me either. And so I was actually overeating as a result of that. And that's some of the topics that I shared on last week as well. So I'm not going to go deep into that. But just to give you some background into, what my journey looked like in terms of adding protein to my smoothies, because I had no idea. So some of the reasons why you're going to want to add protein to your smoothies, if you're not already, and if you're not already, that's okay, right? We're all at different parts of our journey. It's natural for us to have this evolution of our processes. Excuse me, I'm really thirsty. It's almost 40 degrees here today, Celsius, for all of my American friends hanging out with me. Protein, first and foremost, protein helps us feel fuller longer, right? So if you find that your smoothies are not having you feel or feeling sustained, or you're hungry after drinking a smoothie, you're going to want to look at how much protein do you have in there? Do you have enough that if you are using your smoothie to, let's say, replace a meal, if you were to sit down and make your meal, how much protein would you have in that meal versus what you put in your smoothie? Because if you don't have enough in there, you're definitely going to feel hungry, right? So in addition to that, protein actually requires more metabolic processes in our body in order to break it down and digest it. And so what we can see when we are consuming more protein in our diet, and particularly by adding it to our smoothies, is that we can actually help burn more calories at rest than if we were eating less protein. So that's something to keep in mind if you are trying to be on a fat loss journey of some kind, right? So that's number one. So they help us feel fuller longer. Number two is that protein-packed foods also contain other important micronutrients. So for example, we have two sets, basically. Actually, we kind of more have like 3 or 4 sets of nutrient categories. So our first would be our macronutrients. This is our proteins, our fats, and our carbohydrates. So our proteins contain our next set, and these are our micronutrients. These are our vitamins and our minerals, okay? So all of our micronutrients come from macronutrient foods. So in terms of protein, eating enough of it, and particularly in our smoothies, we are helping to ensure that we are getting that additional boost or intake of micronutrients for good and really more like optimal health, right? So things like zinc, omega-3s, depending on the protein source you're using, iron, B vitamins, which are crucial for our energy levels and mood stabilization, and even minerals like magnesium. We can find these in our protein-packed foods. So by adding more of them to our smoothies, we're ensuring that we're still getting that really good level and high concentration of phytonutrients that our body needs for good health. And then the third reason, and this is one of the biggest things that I learned in my journey specifically, it wasn't just about feeling full or looking good, losing fat or anything like that, but my specific journey, and it's actually what's brought me to be a women's hormone health coach, was my struggle with my menstrual cycle from the time I was 13 until the time I was, like 28. It was a battle, and it was an awful battle. It was, monthly trips to the hospital. It was a lot of pain. It was visiting a lot of doctors to be told that nothing was wrong with me and I should go home and take a Tylenol. And I actually did have doctors tell me something like that in the middle of a crisis and flare up. I was told to go home and take a Tylenol by a male doctor nonetheless. But nowadays, by nowadays, I mean, even in the last 5 years, I have seen a significant improvement in the quality of care for women's hormone health in our medical systems, but there's still loads to be done because there's still so much about our our menstrual cycles that we don't know. But what we do know, here's what we do know, okay? And this was stuff that I learned in my journey of managing my symptoms and coming to a place of peace with my menstrual cycle where I wasn't constantly in fear of it or in pain because of it, is that the food that we eat directly impacts our body and the food that we don't eat, right? And there are so many components of our lifestyle that actually perpetuate the way that our hormones naturally balance. So things like chemicals in our environment or in our food, in our water sources, on our walls, right? Our stress level. So our body's ability to manage stress at a cellular level, our toxic overload in the body at a cellular level, food, water, sleep, all of it. It all matters. And so when I started my journey of getting to a place of balance with my menstrual cycle and my hormones, specifically my estrogen, one of the things I learned was that protein is actually very crucial for maintaining our hormone balance. And I had no idea. And so what we're seeing in studies now is that a protein deficiency in our bodies can actually result in more types of hormonal imbalances that we see in women, very common ones, things like irregular periods, PMS symptoms, painful periods, and even fertility can be affected by a reduction or a deficiency in our protein intake. This is huge, right? And you can let me know in the chat if this is new to you or new information, like just, give me a mind blow on there, right? Because that's crazy to learn that there is such a strong connection between our diet and lifestyle and the way our body regulates. But when we think about it, when we really actually think about it, when we become conscious of it, it's really not that surprising, right? Food is our fuel. The difference is that we have now become so disconnected from our fuel sources that we no longer really have that immediate aha moments with our food and our lifestyle, right? So, but that was something that I learned. So in increasing my protein intake, and I see this all the time with my clients as well, as many of them are not eating enough protein to begin with. So when we start to increase the amount of protein that they're eating, we do actually start to see their periods regulate. And mine did. I went from 30, 40, 50, 60-day period cycles down to 32, 31, and this is more in that healthy range, that healthy normal. Okay. Even like our PMS symptoms in the week before our period, so much of that can be mitigated by ensuring that you're getting enough protein in your diet every day. Now, in saying that, here's the interesting thing. The majority of us, if we are eating that standard North American diet, we're actually probably eating too much protein, but of not the right kinds, not clean enough proteins, very overly processed proteins that are loaded with a lot of cholesterol or unhealthy fats and other preservatives and chemicals and stuff in there, right? And even, maybe even growth hormones if we're looking at industrialized meat, okay? So how do you know if you're getting enough, right? Or are you eating enough of the right kinds? So later this week, I am going to be sharing the types of proteins that I encourage you to add to your smoothies in order to help make sure you're eating enough protein. But let's say for simple sake here that you're not really sure if you're eating enough, and today you want to know if you are, right? Now, of course, this is all just general information. Every person's body is different, so keep that in mind, but you can use this really simple calculation to actually give you a rough idea of how much protein you should be eating every day and whether or not you're getting close to that goal. So the calculation goes like this. It's 1 gram of protein per kilogram of your body weight. So if you measure yourself in pounds, what you're going to do is you're going to take your weight in pounds and divide it by 2.2. This will give you your weight in kilograms. And then essentially your weight in kilograms at that point is how many grams of protein you should be eating roughly every day. So for example, if you are 60 kilograms after you've done that calculation, if you were in pounds, then you're basically looking at consuming 60 grams of protein in a day. Now, if you eat, let's say you eat 5 times a day, then what you're going to want to do is take a look at that 60 grams, divide it by the 5 times you eat, and you know that roughly each of your meals or snacks, each time you eat, should contain roughly 12 grams of protein, which is actually very doable for the average person. Now, if you have, certain health conditions or certain training requirements or body conditions that you're trying to manage or support, of course, your protein intake requirements are going to look different. But this is just, an average to give you an idea if you're, even in the right range of where you should be. And so that sort of gives you that rough idea. So let me know in the comments here if this was helpful for you. This was, I'm sure, a ton of information. I did include all of this information as well in the description of this video. But if you want more information like this, more healthy living tips, be sure to like, share, and follow these videos and my channels in order to be notified when I come live to do more of them. And then if you're looking for more direction in your health goals, or you need some support or motivation or tools or resources, you can connect with me right here in my social media platforms, or you can go to the link in my bio, or you can always go to my website, jenshealthyliving.ca, to get a full list of the products and services that I offer. Actually, it's not even a full list of products and services. It's a condensed list, but you can definitely connect with me there and learn more about me, more about my journey and my story, and even hear from some of my other clients who have walked similar paths and come out on the other side feeling amazing. So have yourselves all a fantastic day. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it, as always. And like I said, later this week, we're going to be talking about some of my favorite proteins to be adding to smoothies, how to choose a plant-based protein powder, what to look for in your powders, how to know if it's clean. That's a big deal, right? You don't want to be eating something that's not going to be doing you any good when your goal is to do good. So make sure that you've hit that notification button so you're notified when I come live, and you'll be able to catch all of those either live with me right here if your timing permits, or of course always on the replay. You can catch me on my social media channels. Bye, everybody, and thank you all so much for hanging out with me again. Happy Monday.